So, without further ado, please let me introduce Karen Mills, Design Director at Vibe.
Hi everyone, it's good to be here. So on screen you'll see a selection of probably your own locations and lots of our other clients. I'm leaving these up just to start with, just to introduce what fit for purposes. So creating graphics fit for purpose. You'll know your purpose. You'll see screens that are different to yours and things like that. So everyone has a different purpose. What you need to do is look at what your purpose is. When you do this, you'll save you and your team time. So what I'm going to do today is look at that for you, and then I'm going to take you through two scenarios that you'll probably get on perhaps a daily or weekly basis about getting content onto Vibe. Then I'm going to finish up with just some streamline the creation of graphics using Photoshop if you use Photoshop, but I'll also put some other tips for people that don't use Photoshop. So if we check out all of our projects, you'll see that there's lots of different locations. So first up, find out why your organisation has Vibe. Normally it's to reach and engage employees and increase staff engagement. So understanding what your organisation's why is will help you produce vibrant messaging for your audience. Not someone else's audience, but your audience. And know where your screens are. Know where they all are. They might be out on a construction site. They might be in a nice office environment. That's where your purpose is. Ensure that all your graphics and messages can be seen, visibly seen by your audience. Also know your brand. I mean, graphic designers, we all know our brands. I'm a graphic designer. I know our brand really well. But your content, your Vibe content producers might not know that very specifically. So share the knowledge around, specifically colours and suitable images that your other Vibe team members can use on screen as well. Don't keep them to yourself. Make sure that they're on screen. And our recent update in the slide manager makes that really easy for people, which we could point out a bit later if needed, if you haven't seen the new update. So refer to these elements, your brand elements, when creating slides, and that'll make it a lot easier than trying to create something new every time. The most important thing is to get familiar with what's required. So I'm going to assume there's some just content producers in my audience today and not designers. So your aim is to prepare content so that you can visually communicate using our pre-designed templates from the Vibe Marketplace. For a new slide, you would generally find that you need to write written titles and summaries for individual content messages, posts, events, or even other notices. You also might like to write a slide heading and a summary as well with some of the slides. And also get an idea of the start and end publishing dates. A bit of content management and having some plan of what your content is going to be on screen is really helpful. Then you can call on your designer within your team and give them a brief for any graphics that are needed to accompany your written messaging. So once you have a good plan, it's easy to communicate that to the rest of the team and bring them in when they're needed. So what's required for designers? Your aim is to provide correctly sized graphics to enable your fellow team content producers to update existing slides and create new slides. You would generally provide them help or even the graphics, icons and individual little images to aid their messaging. Possibly a suitable background image and maybe a new logo, but definitely also include an indication of colours and reinforce your branding. So forget print document sizes, millimetres for dimensions and points for fonts. You can't upload PDFs or EPS files directly to Vibe. Remember to source and request from your team graphics that are fit for purpose for your digital TV screen. So images need to be optimised for web, such as JPEGs, transparent PNGs, GIFs, and have a maximum file size of about 1920 by 1080. And all these little details I'm going to have in a guide at the end of this webinar anyway, so don't worry about all the little details, but it's good to note. We're designing for digital TV screens, not print, which I'll highlight in another scenario soon. And also remember that they're RGB. So for content images other than backgrounds, because backgrounds are sort of easy to size, a lot of questions we get are what size do our little content images that go with messages and our notices, what size should they be? Well, the good thing about our dynamic templates is that they resize them on the fly. So you can resize them on the fly so that you can be confident that you're just uploading what you need to do, and our dynamic templates will do the rest. But just keep them square and basically horizontal. Don't throw in a vertical narrow image and expect it to work. You're just asking for trouble. Just aim for generic sized images and graphics. Another good tip is to work together to establish a logical folder structure within the Vibe portal. And this is really easy to do now in the slide manager. That's been a recent update, as I mentioned. If you do create a good logical folder structure, all your Vibe team will know where everything is. And that'll be easy for them to manage, especially if you've got some logos and background images and some new things that you need to add in. And also intend to use actual video footage only. Keep these short, especially if your screens don't have any sound. Great. So I'm going to take you into the Vibe templates. And these are designed and developed to save you time. So if you haven't seen these, jump onto our website and have a look. You can use the filters to find out anything you need. So use the dynamic templates from the marketplace to get content on screen within about 15 to 20 minutes. They are really effective. They are more than a PowerPoint slide, but less than a video animation. But they're designed to be seen, understood, and remembered, just for your target audience. Our templates allow your organisation to communicate more effectively and more often, and there's a mix of design styles which are all themed to suit your brand. And you can change individual colours and animations as you need to. And before designing a static graphic, remember to call our coach Araha, or your coach Araha, and she'll help you choose and set up a dynamic template from the Vibe Marketplace to suit your content as well. But have a look at the video examples. And I'll just show you one here. Have a look at the video examples just to see what the animation does, see the elements that are included within the design, and choose a template that maps close enough to your content. Because having a template in mind will make it easier to create graphics for whether you brief your design team or you do it yourself. So with this one I'm showing any of these elements here can be replaced quite easily with your own brand. We've just used the Vibe one here obviously. But yep, colours, change those out, but obviously the animation was all done for us. Okay, they're all been designed and developed. So I understand that, you know, our pre-designed Vibe templates are there. Here's a few, I guess, technical tips that you should consider before designing something else in a different program, because they're all designed and they'll all automatically resize to fit your screens and allow for the information bar that pops up at the bottom when needed. And often any videos or static images that you put up there won't resize, so they'll be chopped off the bottom when the information bar shows. Images will be resized automatically, as I've mentioned before, to the correct on-screen size, regardless of whether you've uploaded large images from your desktop or your phone. So that's really a good bonus for any content managers. And they are designed both for landscape and portrait screens, plus our web view and our screensaver in Chrome. So if your organisation has a mix of screens, don't worry, as our templates will fit them all perfectly. They're all optimised for all of them. And most of our templates are text-only friendly. This means that you don't need to add images in if you don't have them. This is especially helpful if you don't have a designer and you just need to rely on getting the content on. So for example, this what's on one here, or where else we've got some This one, messages bubble, doesn't need an image, it'll just pop up with text. So a lot of them don't need images. Cool, so I'm going to talk you through two common scenarios now. First one is something that you've all probably seen a lot of, the COVID-19 posters. So this is the scenario. You've been emailed a brief from your health and safety manager to get new messages on screen really quickly. And we all were scrambling around online to try and find some things that would work. Most of us came across the PDFs that were available for us. But pointing out the obvious here, a static A4 or A3 flyer is not expected to translate immediately onto a landscape digital screen. So they haven't been created fit for our purpose or your purpose to get them on screen. So here's my three options. I've mapped out three options for you just to show you how I would get pre-designed material like this on screen in a timely manner. So option one is really simple. If you've got Photoshop like I have, I've just mocked them up here so that you can see. But you can also use things like Snagit, which is a screen capture tool, and manipulate the image that you need to. So what I'm going to do is I would have opened up the A4 PDF in Photoshop, and as you can see it's certainly not landscape, but I would copy and paste elements and fit it into a size that is my 1920 by 1080 screen size. Now that is fit for purpose. It's not animated in any way, but at least it gets it on screen, so it's quite sufficient. That would be option one, and quite easy to do if you've got the know-how, or you've got someone in your team that you can call upon, or even using the Snagit. The next option, which I'll use this poster that I grabbed, option two is a perfect way of delivering content in a vibrant and visible way. That's by mapping all individual messaging and graphics to a dynamic template. One of our clients mentioned to me before it was like deconstructing. Well, it is definitely like deconstructing, because this PDF is certainly not fit for our purpose to get it on screen. So what I did was I enlarged the PDF up to as much as I could without it going pixelated like it is here. So I get it at a size which is quite nice. I would copy the images and save them off individually for my content producer. In that case it was Ashley in our team here. So I handed her all these 6 little icons, created her a background. So my graphics ended up with 6 icons and a background, and then I handed that over to Ashley. She referred back to the original PDF, popped in these messages, and away we went. Now I'm going to show you a video at the end of this just so that you can see the different outputs. But yep, quite an easy thing. So that's where Ashley chose a different template and got it up online. The last option, which is using the original PDF. So quite simply, if you've got no graphic skills, or if you've got limited time to recreate one like my original option here, or you don't want to go through the individual asset creation here, create a JPEG from the PDF just as it is and use the poster template. So the poster template is just uploading any type of poster like this and making a message online. So I'll bring up the video and show you the output of all of these. So first up, we've got our static advert. It's pretty static. Next one, we've got an option. It's not a great option. You can see that the text is a little bit long. It's chopped off, but it still works. It's quick, it's eye-catching, and it works through individual items that people can see. That's one template. The next template I've got is definitely a lot more usable. Because of the actual styling of the template with the round bubbles, it highlights the icons really, really well. So we've used this in-house, and some of our other clients have as well. So once you set up the items, you can definitely change out the templates. And this was my last option. It's putting the full PDF or the JPEG on the right and just a message at the side to say keep an eye out for the posters around your workplace if you've got the posters up. So that's another way of getting some content on screen really quick in some 3 different ways. Okay, so scenario 2. On to scenario 2. You've designed an advert and have a high-res PDF for print, but you don't want to utilize, and you want to use the same layout for Vibe. So someone's asked you to get the same thing as they've designed for print. Now I'm going to use this advert here that was given to us by one of our clients that they needed on screen. So it is an advert type of situation, but it'll still show you what's happening. So this was their original layout. Still got the crop marks in there for a print, which is lovely, but certainly not for our purpose of on screen. So rather than resorting to the fully static image, which we could make quite easily, I chose to use a default slide builder template. Now that's available to all clients. It's just a default template that's in your playlists, or that can be allowed in your playlist. It allows you to animate 4 elements: the logo, a title, a main image, and a summary. So as a designer, I can jump in and do this one. It's probably a little bit more advanced for maybe a content producer who doesn't have Photoshop skills, but in this case the client really wanted to have that same look and feel. So what I did was I planned to keep the background similar but animate this key element of the little discs in here on screen. So what I've done is I've created my background by copying and pasting the elements into a fit for purpose size, which is 1920 by 1080. And I'm leaving space in the middle here for my, which will be, if I turn this on, which will be my main image. And I'm going to save that as a transparent PNG to come in over the top, which ends up to being like this. Okay, so I created a background and 1 main image. And that's all I've done. I then handed that to Ashley and our team to get up on screen using the default template that we've got, and I'll show you the video that we output for this one as well. So you'll see that it's quite simple, but it still makes an impression and it's vibrant on screen. So it catches the people's attention, it captures the audience's attention. This was just the static that I produced at the same size. So you'll see that the animation, whilst it's not the same, it still gets the branding across. It has some movement and it's quite easy to get up on screen really quickly. But the static is static. It just sits there. So still 2 options, but we do prefer the vibe approach. So now I'm just going to run through some Photoshop tips. Now, I'm not sure if you aren't familiar with Photoshop at this stage, that's fine. I can jump online with you later and help you do get some free image editing tools if need be, but I do find Photoshop really good. It's got some great things. So at the moment we've got, what I'd like to point out at this tip is presets in Photoshop. So if you go up to File, New, forget all the print ones, head to Web and Large Web, Web Large. Now what that does is set you up exactly what we need, a 1920 by 1080 at 72 ppi. It's got the right width, height, resolution and color mode. So if you do that straight away, you'll be designing something fit for purpose, whether it's a static advert if you need to, or something else, a background for your content producer. The next thing, consider setting up some actions. So what actions do is if you have some images or some bulk images, you can just run this and it will save it at the right size. So I've set up some actions here. I've also got a link to these actions if you wanted to download them on the guide at the end of today. So they're all set up. You just need to open a file, apply the action to it. It will crop it, put the image size and crop it to the right size, and also optimize it for you as well, which is really good. And also, I'd like to point out another one in Photoshop is automated batch. So if you've got lots and lots of images to batch or bulk change, you can do this as well. So you choose your action. I want to resize them all to 1920 by 1080, or I want to do them at 50%. Often I'll just shrink a lot of images down to 50% from print size. And this is the way to do it. And you just bulk action all of these. Okay, so that's come to the end of my, and also, sorry, no, just one more thing about Photoshop is exporting. So you do want to use the export for web option or export as. So we're not looking at any of the print options. Oh, that hasn't come up. Okay, might be a bit of a lag there, but anyway, we won't dwell on that one. Here we go, it's coming up now. So that's got obviously all of the online web options, PNG, JPEG, and making sure that, you know, we've got transparency and image sizes. So that's what you want to do there. Okay, so I've come to the end of my little tips session, but we've certainly got other tips we can help out. So what you've got to remember is creating graphics fit for your purpose. Remember where your screens are, remember what the aim is of your Vibe screens, and as a team, you know, work together to create images and graphics for your content.
But I just wanted to know, just to bring this to your attention and set you up to talk to you about our next Vibe session, which is happening in August. So Karen collaborated with the Resilience Institute on a mini program.
Yeah, yep.
They have a full program running, but they wanted to be able to deliver this in a visual and snackable way so that post attending the program or being part of the program, people could see visually some snackable bites from that and be able to retain the information that was shared. So we've actually released this out free of charge to all of you, and it will be running on your screens until the end of July. If you haven't seen it, do let me know, but also if you have seen it, be great to have your feedback. This one here, this program is around emotional resilience and just teaching people some ways to breathe and to think about approaching certain situations. And we felt the time, you know, it was a good time to help people who are going through, you know, lots of changes all of a sudden and then having to return back to some familiar surroundings. So it's been good for us here in the office. But if you do have any feedback on it, or if you have seen it, you know, just getting your thoughts on what you think about it. And then to wrap up what we have coming up, so following on from the slide that I just showed you, the Let's Bounce mini program, what we've got coming up in August on the 12th at 1 p.m. is how Vibe supports learning and development. So you can see that little graphic on the right there. You know, after attending a training or workshop, and we understand that after attending this Vibe session today that you might not retain everything. So it's about getting that high frequency or being able to repeat that information for people so that they can retain it. You can see that after an hour people have already forgotten half of what you've told them. After a day it's even more than that, and after 6 days, you know, 25% retention is pretty low. And if this is some key information that you're trying to get out to your staff or, you know, your teams, it's really important that you use Vibe in that way to be able to repeat the message and get that high frequency. You know, we all know that if you email out, you're probably not going to be able to do that again for another couple of days, even a week. And if you've got an app that you send notifications through, having that same message coming through repeatedly is not ideal. Whereas with Vibe, you can have this running in the background, you can have that information on screen, just repeating, and when people are on their break or sitting in certain areas, they can just retain or see some of that information repeated in a nice visual and lively way. So we hope to see you all there. Please speak with people in your organisation who are part of learning and development or running different programs, and let them know that they're welcome to join and to learn how Vibe can be used in that way.